Hello, welcome. It's Judy. Today I'm unboxing the popular Miya Himi jelly gouache and sharing my first impressions while I do another Studio Ghibli study. Before I speed things up, you can see it takes time to open each cup of paint. The cups are so cute and do resemble actual fruit jelly cups, including the way you can sometimes struggle to open one. Some corners can make the opening easier than others though. When you're tugging on the seal, paint will never accidentally pop or spill out of the cup, which is nice, though it'll definitely get on your fingers. So once opened, what stood out to me initially was a smell. I noticed something a little sour about this paint. Over time, the smell was less and less strong, and I didn't notice it after using the paint for a while. I normally use Holbein for gouache, which is totally scentless for me. At different price points, I would expect some differences, and I'll mention more as I go. For $50, you can get almost 20 times more jelly gouache. To be clear now, I don't recommend one paint over the other. What you choose depends on both your budget and what you enjoy. This one, of course, is something to experience for unboxing and seeing all of the colors in front of you. The idea here is similar to having an airtight palette if you were to squeeze tube paint out and save it for later. I did not think about the color arrangement before opening, so what was packaged for me is what arrangement I went with, although I could always move the cups later if I feel like it for aesthetic reasons, but maybe utility too if I were to do something like grouping warm versus cooler colors together. My friend suggested a Howl's moving castle scene in my first gouache video, so I'm painting a close-up of a flower garden that Sophie and Howl jump over. For the sky, I want to get an even spread of color, but it didn't work out. I have to go over it multiple times to cover it later, but maybe I was doing something weirdly. I didn't do any swatching, feeling either brave or stupid for just going in without any testing. I'm figuring it out as I go. I wasn't sure yet if the paint would be as opaque as advertised, so that's why I didn't initially cover all of the paper with blue or green before going in with the pink flowers on top. But looking back, I definitely could have tried, which would save some of the headache of filling in the background behind the flowers. As for the colors out of the box, they really are quite vibrant, especially the greens so far. I'd be able to paint Pokemon colored grass for sure. For our painting though, we needed to neutralize, and I mixed the peach color in to get a more natural grass color. I'm adding a lot of paint and I'm not giving it time to dry, so the grass doesn't look that defined yet. It gets better later, I promise. Here, I'm also dealing with the paradox of my brush simultaneously holding a lot of paint, yet no paint at all. I think with the thickness of the paint, I'd get paint stuck on the upper half and not really flow down in time as I paint. That was something to get used to, having gouache feel acrylic-like versus watercolor-like, and that might be something you prefer. I can't say I do, but I could come around. When I added the beige and white flowers, I noticed some of them are more translucent than others. If I added another layer, I'm sure everything would look more consistent, but for some reason I did not. I think I wanted to finish before the sun came down, and I was eager to move on to other parts of the painting, like this little stream. When zoomed in, it's almost like a waterfall. At least that's how I thought about it when I was painting the mist. Another thing to note about the jelly gouache, the white is not as opaque as the Holbein white, so I'll be prepared with the right expectation next time. I'm happy to do a direct comparison demo if anyone wants to see. But looking at the price again, the comparison per fluid ounce earlier was a little unfair since you'll end up using quite a bit more jelly gouache than Holbein to achieve similar coverage. But even so, I think the amount of paint you get versus what you will use is still far better value for jelly gouache. I'm using a pen to outline the painting since I hadn't quite gotten the flow of the paint yet. The gray pen does the job, but there's no width variation to the lines. Ideally, the flowers in the front have a thicker outline than the ones in the back. My drawing got lost in the paint also, so I end up recovering some flower stems, petals, and blades of grass by first outlining them back and then repainting. Besides recovering parts, I still had painting to do on existing parts, like giving shadows to the pink flowers. The slightly darker pink at the bottom of each flower gives them a lot more form than before. And I do go back and forth between painting and outlining when I notice I'm either missing something or accidentally covering too much. Also, remember when I said the grass layering gets better? The earlier paint layers dried, so I was free to add some well-defined grass blades and flower stems. Grass now looks less like a muddy blend of greens. So the rest of this painting is cleanup since I still had awkwardness between the flowers and the sky or grass. I was missing some purple flowers, etc., etc. Though I could have been more efficient, I was glad I tried the paint and liked the outcome. It's a really colorful scene. To be honest, I can't fully remember what the characters were doing here, but I remember being overall confused when I watched this beautiful movie long ago. I have this YouTube video in the backlog to figure it out. Has a really good attention-grabbing thumbnail. Now that I'm making videos, I'm trying to be more aware of what seems effective and think like, oh, that's a good thumbnail, or wow, the editing style is cool. Zooming in on some of the last details, sorry about the blurry shots where my hand is in focus instead of the painting. Overall, this jelly gouache was worth trying, and I'll keep using it and see if I have any more thoughts. For now, it's feeling like I'm learning something new. My paper curled a lot. I'm not sure why yet because there were two variables. I didn't tape the sides of the paper and I'm using different paint. I failed the tape peeling in areas with heavier paint. Unfortunately, no satisfying tape peeling this time, but we do get some good ASMR with me trying to unbend the paper with no harm or visible cracks to the painting. And there it is. Done. The paint on my palette also dried curled, if that's an indicator that the jelly gouache is curly. But I might tape the sides of the paper next time to confirm. Alright, we've reached the end here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm always open to suggestions for what to paint. I'll see you next week. Bye.